Hello YouTube, I'm back again with another video. Rather than a dual video, I'm going to be doing a deck profile, which I should be doing, which I recently built in real life. So I can give you an explanation in detail how this deck functions, and with the new cards that have been released from Darkwing Blast, it should make for hire more competitive, and I'll give you a rundown as to what I use to make this deck more viable, on top of how this deck would function with the new support. Starting off, obviously, we're playing 3 beat of for hire. So either but not either, but during your main phase, you can special summon 1 for hire monster from your hand, except beat. The only thing that applies during either player's turn is that if you special summon a for hire monster while you control this face-up card, you can add 1 for hire monster from your deck to your hand, except beat. And they're all hard once per turn. They all have pretty much hard once per turn, and they usually, the majority of them, special summon from them during your main phase. Like starting off, you only play 1 Bravo because his bottom effect isn't the most efficient, and it only lasts till the end phase. Usually gain 500. Sure, it applies to all the for hire monsters, but sometimes it's not about really beating over your opponent's monsters. It's about getting rid of them. So a card that possibly helps doing its job better than Bravo is Donpa, because if you special summon a for hire monster while you control this card, you could target 1 face-up card in the field and destroy it. Philo is definitely a card I feel like you have to max out on. Not only because it is simply an extender, but it helps you further extend your plays when you special summon a for hire monster while you control this card. You can special summon 1 for hire monster from your graveyard in defense position, but it's placed at the bottom of your deck when it leaves the field. I used to play 2 of this card, but I'm just playing 1 because I feel like you don't want to see too many of this card. But it can be very handy because if you special summon a for hire monster, you discard 1 for hire card and you draw 1 card. So had you been able to discard any card, for sure I would play at least 2 copies or 3. But 2 would have been sufficient. But another card that we're maxing out on is Rafali, the champion for hire. Although this doesn't, like I mentioned, although not all of them special summon for hire monster from him during your main phase, if this card is special summoned, you excavate the top cards of your deck equal to the number of for hire monsters you control with different names, except Rafali. And if you do, you add 1 of them to your hand. Also, the rest are shuffled back to your deck, and when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can discard 1 for hire card, negate the activation. The reason why I'm playing 3 of this card, although it doesn't have an inherent special summon, is the fact that it helps you build your hand. So you can either build your hand using having a lot of for hire monsters, or you can find ways to special summon outside of for hires. And a card that isn't a for hire monster is Kashira Fenrir. This card is just, I feel like, is mandatory, will help the fire hires become a lot more better. Not only allowing you to add another Kashira as well as itself from your deck to your hand. Anytime your opponent activates a monster effect, or if this card declares an attack, you can banish 1 face-up card in the field and face down position. And a card that's similar to Donpa is Recon. This card doesn't have the best effect. Sure, it allows you to target and destroy 1 set card in the field. It should have just been a spell and trap card. Would have been better for sure. But you need it as a 1-of because it's just those tech for hire monsters help you set up your board and be able to function a lot more quicker. So you have different names to be able to help you like make the most out of certain effects, as well in giving you as more advantage. So their names are important because of the archetype, simply because they benefit with having the same name. So if you get what I mean. A new card that's from the set, we're playing 3 Rex. Doesn't have the effect where it special summons a fire monster from, but this one's your other stronger extender, if anything. So if it's normal special summon, you can add 1 fire spell trap card from your deck to your hand, and during the main phase, if you control a fire monster, it has a quick effect. Just to let you know, you can banish the card from your graveyard, then target 1 for hire card in your graveyard, either add to your hand or special summon if it was a monster. So in itself, it gets you the cards that you need for you to bust out your for hire monsters. It's the only card that lets you search for your spell and traps, as well as while it's in your graveyard, you can retrieve one of your for hire monsters and then combo off even further. And another card that possibly help you combo off is Seal. This, although may be slower than Philo, this allows you to target one for hire monster in your graveyard, add to your hand. So it should include Spell Trap, to be honest. To be real with you guys, it would definitely help. But if you special summon a for hire monster, you can target one card for one for hire monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. And our final for hire monster is Witch Sagefire. Although its effect isn't the best, the first effect you gain 500 for each fire monster you control with a different name except Wiz. It should have been 1,000 to be honest. Just doesn't feel that strong enough. But again, it also helps because it also disrupts your opponent's spell trap card. So if they activate spell trap card, you can discard one fire card and negate the activation. And there are no traps in this main deck. We're playing Call by the Grave, although it's limited. It's just because if this deck can easily be hand trapped, and you need to find ways to negate them so that you have a chance to continue playing with your fire cards and be able to further extend your plays. 3 Forbidden Droplet to be able to negate and get around disruptions, as well as monsters that prevent you from activating card effects. Is just in itself is very important because especially with the recent meta and the and how it's been going so far, and how it's still prevalent, you have to be able to have this card because simply fact it does not target and negates monster effects. So negating monster effects is important because they'll do whatever they can to stop you from even going into your starters, as well as prevent you from doing anything. So you want to have a chance to actually make a play and possibly get rid of a card in the field. Even if you don't manage to win that duel, you want to get rid of something. So and be able to do something as well as be able to deal damage to your opponent. Because if they stop you, you basically can't deal any damage to your opponent. And that's how this game has gone to. So with all that mumbo jumbo, I'm going to our for hire spell card, which we're maxing out is Mayhem for hire. Although this does not help you special summon links, but you target one for hire monster in your graveyard, you don't have to control anything, special summon defensive position. And I forgot to mention also a quick play, so it helps during your opponent's turn. So Monster Reborn is a one of, you want to keep extending. 1-for-1 to get into your Philo, reasoning to help you enable your for hire plays, and whether they determine correctly the level, there is no guarantee, and the odds are not that against you. So if this card was if reasoning was at 3, possibly play set in this deck maybe, but it all depends on how efficient it is and whether it will make a huge difference for this deck. We play the one road obviously because it helps you search the beat and also helps you add more cards, so it's like a +2. Rookie for hire, this is a very flexible spot, so if your opponent tries to negate one of your fire monsters that are already on the field, you can chain with Rookie for hire. Should be the monster, special summon one for hire monster from deck that is 1 level higher or lower. So then their effect will resolve once they leave the field. And our final spell card that we're playing is Triple Tactics Talents because, like I said, this deck is vulnerable to hand traps. And we want to make the most out of our play so we can in return benefit. So if they do manage to negate one of your cards or if they prevent you from playing, you can either draw 2 cards, take control of one monster your opponent controls, look at your opponent's hand, choose one from it, shuffle to the deck, and you want to open it with this. Even if it's not a guarantee you're going to open in your hand, but again, you want to max out on this card to increase the odds of seeing it, as well as all the other cards that help you enable your plays and get around your opponent's card effects, so that you have a chance to actually bounce back. And I'm not going to really describe the side deck because it all depends on your locals or who you're up against. So it's only personal stuff, like whatever goes on in real life. And we're just going to go straight to the next deck. One Axico Talker, nothing really too much to say. Pretty much a game changer, big body. Opponent cannot even respond to this card. Being able to destroy a card without targeting, as well as they can't respond, like I said before. And it gains 1,000 for each link rating that was used to link some with this card. Equal to, no, you target one link monster, it gains 1,000 for each of that target's link rating. Appaloosa, in case you go first, you can easily get into this card, but you want to be able to stop your opponent's monster effects as much as possible, and then eventually you set up for next turn, then possibly deal as much damage so that you can have the comfortable lead. Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, simply because we have some level 7 monsters that are in the main deck that we have access to, and we need that because if you do use a level 7 or higher monster, this card cannot be targeted and it can't be destroyed by card effects. On top of that, if you destroy an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects, whether it gains 1500, but you're most likely you just want to banish the card on the field instead without targeting. Burrow Sword for OTK, Dark because a lot of the meta contenders tend to use a lot of dark attribute decks, and they're very popular when it comes to very powerful monsters. This one's actually new. I want to bring this up. We're playing 2 Donner Magic Dagger for hire. I actually want to give an explanation about this card. So it's very flexible. So it's a card that I prefer to play 2. What's good about this card is that you can target one fire monster you control, one monster opponent controls destroy. It includes itself. And this is the important part that I need to explain. You contribute one monster, so it includes itself, special summon one for higher monster from your hand or graveyard with a different original name than the attributed monster. Then if you attributed a link monster to activate this effect, you can special summon one more such monster. So how this works, so you don't have to target up 2 monsters. The first target you special summon first, and then you have to choose whether you want to special the second target after, once the first special summon is resolved. So what's interesting is that there's a combo with Philo. You special summon Philo first, and then with Donner, the second target, you choose another fire target. It could be Rex, besides Philo. And when you special summon the second target after, once Philo's already in the field, you'll use Philo's effect, special summon another higher monster that remains in your graveyard, and then you already have 3 monsters. And it is not, whether there's a ruling or not, the play is legal because it doesn't say special summon up to 2 monsters. It says if you want, you can special summon one such monster from your hand or graveyard. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is it's not just because it doesn't just say up to 2 monsters. You have a choice to special summon one monster, and then you have another option after you tribute link monster if you want to special summon a second monster after. So it's not simultaneously. That's the point I'm trying to make, you guys. So that's something you have to understand. So just to be aware, it's not simultaneous. And for a final fire monster, only contains only 2 of them in the entire archetype. So Fogel, I was originally playing more than 1, but the reason I'm just playing 1 because the problem is you can't really link summon into it. He doesn't have enough attack, but his effect is still very viable. Being able to special summon 1 for higher monster from your deck to the field. So you'll most likely special summon Rafali, Rex, or Wiz, or possibly Beat. But again, it's very useful because the fact that depending if your opponent's core card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you draw 1 card, and then if you control 3 or more fire monsters with different names, you draw 2 additional cards instead. So in a way, it definitely helps. And then we're going to for our link twos, we're going to IP because you can link summon during your opponent's turn and can disrupt them during that turn as well. The Nightmare package, Cerberus, Phoenix, Unicorn, Link Karibo to reduce your opponent's monster's attack as well as take less damage. Lina, because light monsters are also relevant and they tend to be very powerful, and especially a lot of meta decks. So in a way, it definitely does help because you need to consider how popular they are, and you want to ensure that when you get rid of that monsters, that like light monsters are very strong contenders as well as dark edge monsters because the type of monsters that players rely on the extra deck or on the field, and at the same time can really help because it's like it helps you push to the point where it's like you need to get this monster out, and you can either link summon it or you just keep it remains on the field, depending how powerful the effect is and how much you could take advantage of it. And for our final link monster is Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, who happens to be a link 5. Since this deck tends to special summon a lot, And what's great about it is that you can, the whole point, if you ever link summon this card, you use one of your opponent's monsters instead, and you use at least three or four of your monsters to go into her. On top of that, when she's link summoned, you can negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls, which can be a huge benefactor because what if I decide I want to summon my for hires after now that I'm safe from my opponent's monster effects. So that in a way can help me push even further, and I could possibly not have to worry about what my opponent has remaining on his field, although they still stick around in the field. Again, their effects are negated, and they can't do anything to me unless they have a hand trap or something in graveyard that they can resolve, or a face down card. Those are the things I have to worry about, besides the monsters that are negated on the field. Rather than them having more attack, I'm more worried about the effect that they have, whether it negates my card effects or stops me from playing, or it's unaffected. But speaking of unaffected, this Link Summons card is unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. So they have to target this card instead, so it's unaffected by Dark Ruler and Droplet, any card that does not target. And then once per turn, pretty much the last effect, when your opponent activates a card effect that special summons a monster from the graveyard, you can negate the activation. And that's all there's much to say about this deck. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. And like I said before in the past, be sure to check your notifications, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you, and hope you guys enjoy your day. And I'll obviously expect for more upcoming content later in the future. See you.